Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
The newest season for the Simpit Road Racing Series dawns under a Texas morning sky in the virtual Austin, Texas for round 1 of 10. Last-minute class promotions and demotions put some drivers in all-new scenarios for this all-new season, and we're going racing in GTE cars. Strap in for Coda, we are going racing. Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV and Virtual Circuit of the Americas. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Emerson Arden alongside. And firstly, Emerson, welcome to round 1 of 10. And secondly, welcome to your home track, a world-class racing venue featuring Formula One and NASCAR annually. CODA's a big challenge for these GTEs.
Absolutely. Thank you for welcoming me in, Andrew. Fantastic day here at the Virtual Circuit of the Americas. Can't wait to see how these GTE cars tackle this long and technical 3.36 mile circuit. And yeah, can't wait to get things going here, Coda.
It is definitely one of the longer circuits in the United States, matching right up there with, I think, some of the longest circuits we see on the Formula One calendar as a whole. And it has two long straightaways as well. We're already talking about braking for these GTE cars. We're, 30 seconds into the actual broadcast here, and yes, we're going to see lockups into turn 1 and 11 and 12, especially each of those corners. I think even turn 20, trying to make some last-minute moves potentially on some of these laps, especially in qualifying. But yeah, Circuit of the Americas, a world-class racing venue. We often talk about curbs, we often talk about corner cuts, we often talk about off tracks, we talk about penalties at this racetrack. That is all going to be on the menu this afternoon or evening or morning, I suppose, in Sim. We're talking about it all day long. The lap record here in a GTE car is set by Ricardo Ledo in a Porsche 911 RSR. That is the car of choice today. That was a 156.966, and that, oh boy, that's an official iRacing competition. And Emerson, these guys are just barely quicker than it. Terry Crouch actually down to a 159.948, albeit that GTE lap record set in qualifying. I believe that's a single car qualifying as well. I'm sorry, 56.59, different number there, but I got excited there for a second. These guys are about 3 seconds off, but they're still in the ballpark. GTE cars can get moving around this circuit, and this is one of many, I think, premier circuits on this schedule. Here's a look at it in its entirety. And I should mention, this schedule is different from what we saw last week. Last week, same tracks and everything, just different order. We had gotten a little bit of misinformation there, but we have this all corrected. This is the season schedule for this season. 10 races beginning now and stretching to December.
Absolutely, and it's a fantastic schedule. Very heavy American slate here in the first half with 4 American tracks, Silverstone slapped in there around 4. And then the second half, we're going worldwide here with Monza in Italy, Austria, the Red Bull Ring, Le Mans in France, Sebring back here in the States, and Fuji. An amazing schedule. I think we're hitting some amazing tracks, some very iconic tracks all throughout the schedule, and I can't wait to see how these GTE cars do battle.
Yeah, I'm very much excited for what we're going to see here today and the whole rest of the season. Again, Austin kicking things off today, Road America next week, so keeping things in that American theme. And I'm really especially excited for Le Mans. I think that's going to be a challenge as far as building cameras and B-roll and all that stuff for that one, but it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to finally broadcast from Le Mans here on the channel. I am very much up to that challenge and excited for it this season. Let's talk about qualifying. Cars are on track. Emerson and Terry Crouch, one of the first ones out there in his Ferrari. We're going to see a large Porsche field, I think, this entire season, but Terry is going against the grain a little bit. He's in a Ferrari. We'll see how it works out for him.
Yeah, and Terry, he was the lone driver in the 159s in practice. He had about 2/10 clear over his next closest competitor at the end of the practice session here. So Terry has, he set the bar. Is he going to be able to match that bar or even go past that bar here in the group qualifying session? We'll have to wait, but he is now working his way. I believe this is the turn 14-15 complex on 13, 14, 15. Now on the way to the triple right-hander here, and again, very technical corner here. This is all about being precise and setting yourself up for a great beginning to your lap.
So Terry Crouch on track, one of the first cars to join the qualifying session and get on track. Sam Hinchey also out there in car 93 in a Porsche. We're going to see a lot of those Porsches. And how about Stan Donnet, who was, should have been, I thought, moved into Pro. I'm going to verify that. Yes, should have moved into Pro, but it looks like the A there is still in his name, so we'll wait for clarification there. But he should now be a Pro driver after his performance last week at Spa in the final preseason rounds. We'll wait for clarification there. How about Wolfgang Rausch in car 71, also in a Porsche? David Payne, also in a Porsche. We're going to see Flo Doms in a Ferrari. How about that? Bit of difference up there in the front.
Absolutely, and that's another thing, right? We've had a lot of sports cars here on the channel, right? Most of it GT3s, not too many GTE races that we've had here. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the car choice is. We've seen a lot of Ferraris and Porsches. There's some Corvettes out there, and more along in the class. I think there is the full slate of, I think, 8 GTE cars that these drivers can choose.
Actually, only 5. It's kind of a slim layout for this class. You only have the BMW, the Chevrolet, the Ferrari, the Ford, and the Porsche. That's all that was ever added to this GTE GTLM class. Kind of interesting that it stayed so slim all the way through, but it is one of the slimmer, I guess. Well, you're really only comparing it to GT4 and GT3, I suppose. But it still is not as in-depth as it feels like, right? There's so many other cars that could have been added earlier on in GTE competition, but just never quite made it to the sim. Seeing a lot of Porsches throughout the rest of the field. Here is a BMW in all of its porky goodness, headed down to turn number 11, it looks like. That is Schulteis in car 008. So we're just waiting on these qualifying times to start rolling in. And as they roll in, you'll see where drivers will slot in our ticker. Again, just like last week, blue numbers, those are your pros. Orange numbers, those are your amateurs. So we just have the 2 divisions of drivers. They are all racing together. And per Terry Crouch earlier today, and I'm putting him on the hook here in case he's wrong, but per Terry Crouch earlier today, they are all scored overall, just like in the North American Racing League for some of our other Pit Stop TV viewers, but scored overall and then split into their standings after the race. So you are racing against pros and amateurs alike, no matter what class you're in, for those points, Iverson, and that makes every position on track crucial.
Absolutely, and what that does, of course, is it rewards those drivers, especially in the amateur category, to get up, mix up with the pros, and keep giving yourself buffers. Say there's somebody that's fighting in the middle of like a pro-heavy top of the standings, and there's an amateur up there. They have 4 or 5 cars in between them. That's going to be 4 or 5 points theoretically. I don't really know what the point system is, but 4 or 5 positions worth of points over their next competitor in their standings. So it's going to reward, some strategy differences that can go into the favor of moving you up the running order.
On board with Amir Hassan. Now, we talked about the fact that this is a morning race. Let's check into the weather conditions. 63.7 degrees Fahrenheit on track. That is not all that warm. 65 in the air. 63.7 in the air. 65 on track. Had that one backwards. But very calm winds. But it's a cool morning here in Austin, Texas, at least virtually. And we're going to see some low temps, I think, throughout most of this race. I don't think it's going to come up very much. We're in the morning. In fact, I think the session opened up at 7:30 in the sim. That's early. That is really early. We're going to see that theme throughout most of the season, actually. I know Road America next week going to be like 9 a.m. in the sim. We're seeing some early day races, and then we're going to see a late afternoon race at Watkins Glen. So a really interesting setup for these first few races to get into things in this season. Some cool temps. It's going to make it a little bit easier on these guys.
Absolutely. The cool temps. It's going to add grip. Out there, you're going to be able to do a little bit more with the car, and also 65 degrees, the track from 63 the air temp. That's not too, I guess, out of norm for October in the morning here in Austin. So it fits the theme pretty nicely. But with it being Texas, if we were to quickly get that sun up into the sky, this track is definitely slated to heat up. So we could also see the track change over the course of the hour-long race.
There are not many cars in that one particular part of track that we were looking at, but here's a bunch of cars through the stadium section. This is a great view as to what you might see as a fan here at COTA. Look at everybody lined up just trying to get through this section of racetrack, and it's so tight as well as, Don Hunter, James Dowling moving up the order, a few drivers moving into different places. How about Yo? I'm going to go with Yo Antonio. I always struggle with that first name. JP would have it down, but we're going to say Antonio for now. Position 31, one of the drivers we did not see at Spa last week, but looking pretty good in this top 10. And as far as the top amateur driver, again, Stan Donnet is supposed to be in Pro. Don't know why his name still says AM, but otherwise, the top... and the top AM driver actually would be car number 03, Don Hunter. So kind of interesting that he is displayed as a pro. So that might have been the switch right there. But yeah, Hunter should be per our registration in the amateur class, yet he's listed as pro. So I'm sure we'll get some more of these, figured out by next week at Road America. But we could be looking at Don Hunter as your amateur pole sitter.
And again, what a starting position that be to be up there, 8th position. He gives himself a little bit of a buffer. I think that's 2 or 3 cars that'll have him between himself and his next amateur competitor. It looks like 2 cars. Albeit, they're going to be coming off the start. That could be very crazy, and the positions are going to change very much so through the first corner and the NDSs through the opening lap. But it's off to the advantage there for Don Hunter. We're watching now. We'll just scroll into the field. We got Ken East up there in the pit lane. Nicholas Batista working down the back straightaway.
Batista in a Ferrari, not many Ferraris, but we're seeing more variety, I think, in this amateur class. But right back to a Porsche with Shireman in car number 82. Alice Mom, by the way, in a Corvette, one of the first Corvettes we've seen. In fact, I think the first Corvette we've seen so far today. We've also got Eric Hardiman in a Porsche. Just going through the amateur class, I called this guy Eric last week, Edgar Sanchinelli in car 57 in a BMW. Good to see him here today. Wouter Van Mariek, did not see him last week at Spa, but he is in a Porsche here today. And William Martinez also checking into the class, but not currently on track. And how about that? That's a bit of a crossover. Maybe Kyle Busch in his later years going GTE racing. I'm not so sure about that one. That's a little bit different.
Well, he has already, worked with the Lexus team in IMSA. Sports cars could be in Kyle Busch's future. In all reality, great paint scheme, it's going to be nice. You probably can't miss a bright yellow M&M's car.
While this was all going on, actually, while we were checking out the amateur class, we've had a change for pole. Randall White up to the top spot at a 2-minute 1:66. Terry Crouch just behind that by 3/100ths of a second. And Terry doing some battle, it looks like, with some cars, having to get on by. That's always so tough to deal with. And Terry, I think, going to have to abandon his qualifying effort. Yep, there he goes. He's going to tow, and that is going to be it for Terry. He is not taking pole here at COTA today.
Wow.
Moses Kwai might be able to, though. He is on what could be a heater. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, if Terry Crouch not able to get into those 59s that he was earlier in practice, and potentially that 59 could have been as a result of draft, but we're seeing these top times be really close, and we'll see.
And Amir's done.
Oh,
Amir Assad's done. So the only bullet really left in the top 5 is Moses Kwai here in car 188. Sven Labe may be able to as well, but he's coming to a stop in his Get Pull Racing 42. So we'll see what Moses Kwai can do. He's into turn 20 now. On the brakes, down through the gears, hitting that apex, back on power. We'll see what he can do down to the start-finish line. Moses Kwai, this is a great view from our drone right above the start-finish line. And no, he was not in the green, so he abandons that lap. Don Hunter, maybe he can do something in his Porsche.
watch Don Hunter again. One of the drivers slated to be in the amateur category, or it is on our scoring end there. And seeing where if he can improve his position, maybe give himself a little bit more buffer to his fellow amateur competitors. He's working his way, I believe, through the triple right-hander right now.
And Don is either going to move up, potentially in the pro category, or he's going to take pole in amateur. Currently, you can see he's the only orange number in that top 10, so I'd be led to believe that he is our amateur pole sitter as of now, but if not, that would drop down to Wolfgang Rausch, I believe, in car 71. You know, we've got a couple of discrepancies, it looks like, but we could also be looking at David Payne as the amateur pole sitter. A few different options, so pick one to your taste. Here's Joao Antonio, 1.676 seconds off. And we'll see him come out around turn number 20. And at this point, Emerson, you really know if your lap is going to be any better or not. So you're either abandoning, like we've seen several drivers do, or continuing with it. And Antonio moves up to the 5th position. That's faster than Amir Assad and Sven Labe and Stan Bonnet. So several spots grabbed there for Antonio. Really solid lap. Looks like that's going to be about it. Really, Shireman down the pit lane, and Hardiman is on track. We might see Hardiman complete this lap.
He's gonna go for it, right? He still has a lot of track to go and only 50 seconds. So we'll see if he's able to bring it back around and is able to hit that start finish line down to turn 12, 45 seconds left.
And Hardiman may have been the Porsche that we saw hold up Terry Crouch. We saw a light flash from Terry amidst his last attempt in qualifying. I wonder if Hardiman was that slower car that held him up a little bit. It's hard to say without going back and getting a replay, but Hardiman tiptoeing through the stadium section. I have noticed these GTE cars, they tend to get a little more wheel spin, a little more power down to the ground than GT3. So maybe that's something that Hardiman is trying to come to terms with a little bit, trying to kind of tiptoe his way into a qualifying effort potentially. I'm not sure he's going to make it back to the line though.
Gonna try through turn 19 to turn 20. I don't think he'll hit that line. That's the first line out the corner. I don't even know if he'll get that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for Hardiman, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do.
That'll do it for qualifying then here at Circuit of the Americas. We've got 60 minutes on the way and expected, 30 laps or so. Let's go ahead and meet your starting grid. On pole, Randall White, car 84. That's a bit different from last week. We did not see Randall in that kind of commanding position last week at Spa in the final preseason round. Good to see him taking charge here at COTA. Starting second, you'll find Terry Crouch, the driver that finished second last week at Spa. And starting third, it's going to be Jan Christian in car 35. Moses Kwai rolls off from the fourth position. Starting in fifth, you'll find Joao Antonio. Amir Assad will start from the sixth position. Starting seventh, it is Sven Labe. Stan Donnet from eighth. Don Hunter will start from ninth, and Wolfgang Rausch from 10th.
11th will find the 34 there of James Dowling. 12th will find David Payne in the 73. Number 7 will find our way back to the 666 of Pete Snake. The 39 of Sean Cole starts 14th. 15th will find the 93 of Sean Hinchy. 16th will be Dan Clark. 17th will find Schlitzis and White. And back to row number 10 will find David Sarator and Ken Estep.
Starting 21st today at COTA, Mike Nickham in car 56, Nicholas Batista from 22nd. 23rd position lining up as Edgar Sancinelli. Starting 24th is, I got to get clarification on the first name again. I had it earlier and I lost it again. I know it's Shireman, Heiko Shireman there for Whipperman Racing, starting from the 24th position. Starting 25th, it will be car 194, Alice Mom, followed up by Flo Doms, a really poor qualifying effort compared to the speed he's had the last couple of weeks. Starting 27th, Michael Thompson in car 314, then Brandon Carl from 28th. Starting 29th is Dustin Arbelo in car 88, Wouter van Morik starting from 30th, and to round out the field, it is Eric Hardiman and William Martinez in positions 31st and 32nd. Randall White on pole here, Emerson. Let's check into the weather once again. It hasn't changed much. 1/10 of a degree in the air, but slightly calmer winds. It looks like they're moving around a little more. It's not so much sustained.
Yeah, the winds are starting to fluctuate a little bit, and that may have an effect, especially through some of the higher speed corners, right? And we'll see. It is partially cloudy. We'll see if that can clear up the sky a little bit, or maybe bring in more clouds. We'll see if the track time remains at that 65 degrees, or if it increases and gives these drivers a little bit harder of a time throughout the 1 hour event.
See these drivers taking the shorter formation lap. That means they will come around in a moment to, they're through the stadium now. They'll come around to turn 17 and 18, that triple right-hander that Emerson was talking about here in just a moment. But love the stadium section here at COTA. It really gives a fan experience, I think, that most tracks can't quite match. Let's talk about the track map one more time here. This is a look at the whole of the track, Emerson, and there's a lot of different places that you can mess up in a GTE car.
Absolutely. Again, you have the turn 1 at the top of the hill, heavy braking zone. The S's would take a lot of finesse. Turn 11, turn 12, another couple heavy braking zones that are hard on the brakes without ABS. Very technical section between 13, 14, 15, and 16. The triple right-hander, it takes a lot of finesse, a high-speed corner, and heavy braking zone down at turn 20, also very tough.
Here we go, turn number 20 for the final time before we let these guys loose. As a full field of 32 down slow through that left-hander, the full field ready to go here at Circuit of the Americas. There we go, Randall White going to take the green flag. We're off and away for 60 minutes. That long line of cars all getting single file for the S's this first time through. Very smart from the entire field, it looks like.
And if you were somebody in this field, right, that especially in the middle of the rear of the field, that was maybe actually scared or worried about some first lap contact, you might have Randall White to thank for that. Going off that final corner really spread the field out. It has kind of led us now into the race that we have right now. Oh, look at this battle into turn 11.
Sven Labe was going to the right side of Amir Assad, looking for that position. Did not get it. That's a battle for sixth, and you can see everybody lining out. That is one heck of a shot as they head down the backstretch here at Coda. That is a beautiful view.
Absolutely. And again, that back straightaway, it's not all flat. You know, it's going up over a hill and then back down a hill here to the turn 12 braking zone. And these battles will continue. It's very tight and technical 13, 14, 15 complex.
Oh, one car off. That was, I think, Mike Nickham, and yes, it was, in the 56 car, a Chevrolet Corvette, turned around in turn number 12, and only 30 cars taking the green. He will drop to 30th. Meanwhile, our race leader, Randall White, through the stadium and that triple right down to turn number 19 now in his blue Porsche, far and away, commanding over this entire field one lap through, but he's got to complete this final corner this first lap, and he will have at least one lap led here today, likely many more. That 84 is on rails so far. One lap complete, that's how they shake out.
Still looking, and of course it's still a 60-minute race, so plenty of time for things to change, but still wondering where the pace Terry Crouch had in practice is, because it hasn't been shown in a qualifying order race thus far. And oh, near contact. Maybe there was contact there out of turn 1.
Amir Assad trying to defend over Sven Labe, and you know, with so little difference, I suppose, in car choice through this entire class or this entire league this week, and potentially the rest of the season, it's going to be tough, I think, to really use your car against another car. I know these guys can work on things with the setup and whatnot, but we're just going to see, I think, closer and closer battles through most of this field. Only a few places will other cars, I think, make the difference. And obviously there's the Ferrari for Terry Crouch, but for the most part, this entire top 10, all made up of Porsche 911 RSRs. And I don't think that's a detriment necessarily to competition, but it's definitely going to bring things tighter and make it harder to pass.
Absolutely. It's going to reward perfection, right? It's going to reward perfection in the setup department, in pit strategy, and of course, not making any mistakes to give up positioning. It's going to award those drivers that are perfect from start to finish, and it's really going to feel good if you can get yourself up into the higher positions. And look at this battle heating up.
Yeah, suddenly Terry Crouch said, "I hear you, Emerson," and here is that speed. He is all over the back end of this Porsche. Randall White trying to defend for the race lead. It's only lap number 2. I did not expect this kind of battle here today, and not this soon anyways. We saw Elliott Hellier run away with the Spa victory last week, and this is something completely different. Randall White having to defend big time already over Terry Crouch. But how hard do you defend as we've got problems further back in the field? Schultheis off in the race, off in the gravel there, off the racetrack at his 008, but it looks like that car is okay. A quick spin, and he is back around and going. But in this case, I'm saying, if you're Randall, how hard do you defend right now? Or do you potentially let Terry take this race lead and sit between these two teammates? With Christian and setting the purple lap there, it might not be a bad idea to sit in second place.
So it depends how you're feeling about it, really. Do you feel that these teammates are going to, work – of course they're going to, try to work for their own benefit, or they're going to work against you to the point where it may end up turning your race up on its side? Or do you feel maybe you can let Terry go by, keep up with Terry, maybe save some fuel in the slipstream, and maybe help your strategy out in that department? We'll have to see what it is, but right now Randall White holds that position.
And finally, Sven Labe has made that pass over Amir Assad. It took him a while, but he finally got that position away from him as Mike Nickham is going to come down the pit lane. And we saw the issues with this Corvette lap number 1 going around in turn 12, and Emerson, it looks like he has decided to come on in and get that car serviced. If not, call this a day.
Yeah, I'm questioning maybe with that spin and with how tight track limits are here, could it potentially already be an incident penalty? You only get 12 before you get a penalty here. I don't know if he's hit 12, but to continue on.
You know what? That would be the tip of the cap for me. That would be rather impressive to get that many incidents in that few laps. But you know what? It could happen with contact to other cars as, oh, we got more battles further back. This turn 12 area is going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think, throughout the rest of the day. Look at these guys battling through 13 now, 14 through the stadium section, watching Stan Donnet battle with Sven Laban. One car looks like having trouble with Flo Doms. He lost a spot or two. Oh boy, it's going to be exciting.
You can continue to see these battles heat up, and the circuit itself gives a nice flood to these battles. It gives, you know, straight away that heavy braking zone, then technical section that you have to try to keep up with. And maybe one section is better for you. Maybe you're better in the S's or the technical bits, but you don't have that straightaway speed. And it kind of makes these battles even out a little bit just with the way the track is designed.
Amir Hassan has now lost the 7th position to Stan Donnet, so Amir just dropping down the order almost rapidly as you can see the entire field come on through. A few Chevrolet Corvettes back there in the distance, just trying to hang on for some positions. As, oh, problem, Sven Laban, Amir Hassan potentially contact. They both went wide in turn 1, it looks like. That has allowed Don Hunter to go through. And look at this, Sven Laban and Amir Hassan, they're battling side by side again, this time into the S's, and Amir is going to take that spot. So they're right back to battling. Sven now has to go back on the offensive. A lap after they finally got that battle sorted, and Mir lost a position. Now they're both 2 positions further back. Call that one a big loss for both.
Sven locked up into turn 1, and there was a huge gaggle of cars. I think Sven just kind of, you know, eased up and kind of tried to fit himself back in line. And Mir also had some issue in that turn 1, but there's a lot of cars packed up here, even after 3 complete laps.
Yeah, this is the action part of the field right now. Well, let's go up to our leaders, though, as Randall White and Terry Crouch are side by side, and that is a lunge around the outside from Terry, but that's not job done. Now it is. What a pass in turn 12. Beautiful racecraft there out of Terry Crouch.
Unbelievable. Around the outside, heavy braking zone. And maybe Randall White was a little easy into the corner, but Terry Crouch asserted his dominance, at least in that battle right there, and he claimed a position. He's already opening up a margin.
Yeah, already up over a half second. He has definitely put some time already on that blue Porsche in the rearview mirror. So Terry Crouch, I think, really is potentially the fastest driver here today. It just took a little bit for him to actually show up in this race and take that position away from Randall White after Terry just couldn't quite get it done in qualifying. Had that entire session and might have been able to do something there at the end, but some kind of slower car impacted his run. He called it a day and had to settle for the 2nd place starting position. But look at that, Terry out front. I think not letting it affect him too much, especially in this first points-paying round of this season. It feels like week 2 for me, and really for us at Pit Stop TV, but let's remind ourselves that this is the first points-paying round. Last week at Spa, that was all for fun. That was just for the preseason, and really just to shake things out. They had a few preseason rounds. Last week was the final one of them at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and now we're actually doing this for real. Points are on the line.
Absolutely. Getting the battle, those preseason races kind of let you get used to the people, especially if you qualify very similar. I think in a series like this, you're going to have some mainstays at the front, in the midfield, and unfortunately at the rear, but you kind of get used to running with people around your starting position, and those preseason races help out, kind of learn the tendencies of one another.
On board here with Don Hunter, and again, per his sign-up sheet, he should be an amateur, but listed today as a pro, chasing a driver that should be a pro, and is listed for some reason as an amateur. So we don't know who's leading in amateur class, but it's one of these 2 drivers. It's either Don Hunter or Stan Donnet, and you can kind of extrapolate from there as Don's going to go for the move here to the left side into turn 12, sits back behind now. Had a beautiful setup. I love what this backstretch is able to do. It creates a serious and powerful passing opportunity if you're just willing to actually make that move up the inside.
I was about to say, I recognize the livery on Stan Donnet's machine, and that's because I see it on the side of highways all the time here in state. That's a state trooper livery. Stan Donnet, one of the 2, well, at least denoted by Racing Club, 2 Texans in the field. The other one being Terry Crouch. Yeah, I recognize the livery. I'm like, wait a minute.
You know, I saw the Super Trooper there on the back, and I thought maybe it was some kind of play on that. But yeah, you're right. You got the Texas Department of Public Safety there on the side of the car. And alrighty then, that is definitely one of the more unique paints I think I've seen in my time on iRacing. Stand on it currently in that 6th position. Don Hunter now has to deal with Amir Assad from behind, and Amir trying to work his way back up through this field potentially. Of course, he's gone backwards a lot in the early goings. Let's go back in the field though. Sean Cole working on Pete Snake, and this is a guy that is a big staple of this Simpit kind of community. Of course, Sean Cole starring in a lot of the videos that go up on the YouTube channel for Simpit. Sean in the 14th position, chasing down Pete Snake, David Payne, and Wolfgang Rausch.
This battle again going on. Everybody's kind of still packed up here. Now that little bit of a corner cut there, and I say it's a corner cut the way Pete Snake is because iRacing is that strict with track limits. That could, of course, lead into something more. You want to keep your eye on your incident count.
Somebody went sideways. I think that was Wolfgang. Yes, it was. Great catch out of him, but he's losing positions as he's going to have to give more spots up. Down to 15th, now 16th as he allows Dan Clark to go by, but stays on the inside there. Clark goes wide and takes that spot away from the Get Closer Racing number 71, but that was scary, and here comes Flo Doms to go on by that 71 car. Flo with the run, and he's going to try and take it by the braking zone.
His tires are definitely going to be a little compromised with that.
Oh, they both bobbled on the brakes. Wow.
What a move there from Flo Doms to make the overtake. But as far as with Wolfgang, that's so easy to do with the change in elevation back there in turn 9 and 10. Unfortunately, I think Wolfgang just was on the throttle a little too much there. His rear tire's going to pay for it.
Flo Doms a little bit, I think, out of sequence there with those corners. Just got a little bit off in one corner, kind of charged the next, and having to sink back into a rhythm here. As Sam Hinchy has some more connection issues just like last week. Hinchy in the 14th spot. We saw him drop out of last week's race. Hopefully that does not happen here today. Let's go a little further back in the field. Nicholas Batista and Schulteis is actually, wow, hang on. Let's go back to that. Flo Doms charged, turn 20. I think he's trying to be easy on the brakes here, Emerson, but he's going to be a little more careful charging these corners.
Yeah, again, you have track limits waiting for you on the far side, as well as this is a pack of cars. This is a lot of opportunity is lying ahead, but you got to keep yourself in alive throughout the course of the of the race here. And we got another battle. This is turn 1.
And Batista way wide in that first corner, gives that spot up to Schulteis. That is for 22nd position. And these guys are about 36 seconds behind our race leader. That was really, really wide there for Nicholas Batista in that green Ferrari.
Maybe Batista, the attempt there was to potentially let Schulteis by, and he went a little too wide. Batista looks like he's struggling a little bit through the S section, so maybe just trying to regain a rhythm.
Here we go, another battle. And that battle ends up wrapped up pretty quickly as Sancinelli goes straight on by David Sarator in turn number 10 and charges down to the 11th corner. But here comes a step now looking for a position. This is for 20th spot now as we'll go on board with Kenneth Stepp and his Ferrari chasing David Sarator.
And again, you have one margin at the beginning of the straight, and that margin can be almost completely closed up. This is a long straight. I think drivers are saying this nears a mile in length, and really can really change up a battle. He closes up there, not able to do too much, and this is a Ferrari duking it out with a Corvette directly in front. So we get to kind of see the difference, and a BMW in front of them. So we get to kind of see the difference of 3 lesser used machines in the field.
But still no Fords.
Well, we know the rep for us having sports cars on the sim.
Well, and the Ford GT and GT3 racing has been underused for years, and it's a very old car. I think the oldest GT3 car on the sim, or at least close to it, up there with the McLaren and the Mercedes, the original Mercedes, that is. But this Corvette, the Ford, the Ford GT is very much with these cars. It actually, I believe, was released just with it was either released with the Porsche or with the previous, or I guess, yeah, this Ferrari, the previous iteration of the Ferrari, so this Ferrari that is in this field, I forget which one it was released with. It was maybe even released with the BMW, but it was released in conjunction with another GTE car in the field, but it just has not been raced yet this season. We might have seen one last week at Spa, and Elliot Hellier, who won last week at Spa, said that he was going to run 4 points in a Ford GT this season, but he's not here today. So what does that really count for, Elliot? You're not even here, but no, I really do look forward to seeing Elliot in this field at some point this season. I'm sure he'll come back next week for Road America, hopefully in that Ford GT like he said, and hopefully putting a beating on the field like we saw last week at Spa. We'll see, though, as we continue to watch these guys at the back end of the top 20. Andrew White, Edgar Sancinelli, David Serator, and Ken Estep in the 21st position. Some more battles further up. Sean Cole actually working on David Payne. This is a pro on an amateur, and actually Flo Doms here putting some power, some pressure on Sean Cole, and that's a pass for Flo Doms.
Remember, we saw Flo Doms make the overtake on Wolfgang, and now has kind of worked his way forward. Flo Doms
up 13 spots.
Flo Doms is on it. But we saw after he made the overtake originally that we had last seen, he was struggling to kind of get back into his rhythm. I think the overtake kind of threw him off his rhythm. So I think now he was able to get back into it. If he keep it up within this pack of cars, I think he'll easily make his way through the final 2 cars right in front of him.
So Flo Doms down in the 13th position, started 26th. Got a decent little gap, though, behind him to Sean Cole now to, I think, focus forward on David Payne, Pete Snake, and others. As Amir Assad's got a problem out of turn number 1. He is off the racetrack, comes back on alongside James Dowling. This a battle now to turn number 2, turn 3 in the S's.
And Assad has been, unfortunately, just dropping down the running order since the beginning of this race, trying to be on a little bit of damage control now, trying to hang with James. A big drive through the center of the corner, but he's going to pay for it here through 8, or that's 7, now through 8 into 9. Very, very much on the back end here, trying to chase down James down the hill, maybe to turn 11. He might have a go.
Oh, he looks to the inside here for turn 11, but I think he's going to sit behind now. No, kind of a late off the brake. Oh, I don't even know. That was kind of a lunge, just kind of rolled off the brake a little bit early and let that car go up the inside of James Dowling, fighting for that position, but nothing came of it. As here we go. Look at this line of cars lined up for the backstretch once again. Flo Doms in the middle of it. He's got a run potentially on David Payne. Does he go to the inside here, Emerson? Looks to the inside. Flo Doms late on the brakes, maybe. He's going to try and roll up to the inside of David Payne. David Payne goes wide and opens the door.
And you know what? I think more or less, Flo Doms is just kind of asserting himself right there in that battle by maybe forcing Payne into a mistake. Maybe he wasn't ever going to make that lunge on Payne, but maybe once he saw, maybe Payne maybe looked in the mirror once and maybe slightly missed his braking point, and Flo Doms went straight away to the apex of the corner.
Now on board of Sean Cole, who's got a great look at David Payne now from the 14th spot. So mark that one more position, by the way, that Flo Doms has moved up, make it 14 spots from 26th to 12th. And Sean Cole actually might have some company here soon from that of Sam Hinchey, who has been having some connection issues. You can see him right underneath the rear wing there in that yellow number 93. Hopefully Hinchey can maintain connection. I talked about it a little bit ago. The connection issues he had last week at Spa, connection issues he's having today, and Nicholas Batista stopped on track, turned around. Oh boy.
Off of turn 19, that's one of the higher speed corners in these sports cars because of the angle. You're able to kind of run a very high speed there. If you're able to use a little bit of extension around the exit as well, you can almost keep it flat out. But very high speed corner easily can affect the balance of these cars. And Amir Assad also is having trouble right now too.
This is the onboard for Nicholas Batista. Then we'll check out the issues for Assad. Batista to turn 19. Just, I think, locked up the rears.
Okay, so they are braking into that corner. I wasn't exactly sure how they were taking it. I guess with the cars having higher power to go fast into that corner. But, right. Very tough corner nonetheless.
Yeah, the rear just comes around on him and quick and easy spin, just loops it right around, skids to a stop. That's about it for him. But then Amir Assad has this issue. Emerson, tell us about it. He's battling here with James Dowling. We saw that for a while, and it looks like it's going to come on the tail end of the S's.
Yeah, he's trying to find a way around James, and I think, again, he pushes the center corner there and didn't want to hit him, maybe threw the car's balance off, went for a slide, and he loses a lot more positions with that. So the slide for Amir Assad today is it's been pretty large. He's down to 15th now.
And again, started off so well in that Porsche. In fact, started in 6th, now down to 15th. That's a loss of 9 positions. And he was in 9th the last time he went by the start-finish line, and it's just that little contact there. He just goes right around and loses that spot. Loses a lot of spots.
Oh, no, and he just, right now, just hit the pit wall, entering pit lane.
Oh, boy. Let's go back and get a look at this. And I saw a little preview of it. This is going to be a tough one for Amir to swallow. Deciding to come in and pit a little bit early, it looks like. Of course, these guys will have to make a pit stop in this race. 75% fuel load in a 60-minute race. They will have to pit. This is the look at it for Amir Assad, though. He decides to come on down to the pit lane, make this pit early, and just charges it way too hard and off into the barrier there. You can kind of see it. Maybe the onboard is the better go for that, but boy, that was not what he wanted to have happen.
I think with that, it was a drive-through penalty for incident points. So
yeah, you're right.
Worse.
And this is only going to add to the incident points. So if he already had to make that drive-through, it's only going to add to it. 25 is the limit before you get disqualified. You do get penalties at 12 and 22. But if you can't keep yourself underneath 25 incident points for this entire 60-minute race, you are not going to get points for today's event, or at least not going to be able to finish today's event competitively. Here's Don Hunter working on staying on it still. And really, not a whole lot else happened. I saw some drivers move around positions. In fact, Flo Doms was able to grab another spot, now ahead of... oh, well, actually, yeah, that would have been for the issues with Amir Assad. So he's up to 11th now, 1 position outside of the top 10. So this position now, this battle, carries a lot more weight.
Absolutely, Flo Dom's trying to work himself into the top 10. He's been kind of working his way through this pack for the past 10-15 minutes. And Flo Doms has kept his composure. Now looking to try to make this move on Pete. Can't get there through the triple right-hander. Maybe he'll try to set himself up for maybe turn 1.
We'll see what he can do. Flo Doms the back end of Pete Snake. Again, this is the battle for 10th position. Oh, things are happening behind us. Take a look at this. Sam Hinchy, he's pitting. That's what's happening. I saw some positions move all around. Sam Hinchy coming down the pit lane. This feels early, but this is going to be for service. I think. It could be a stop and go. No, for service here.
For service, so looks like it'll be potentially the field stop for Sam, and maybe just wants to get it done and over with, wants to focus up on the race.
Another driver in the pit lane. We're seeing a few pits, actually. Here's Schulteis in car 008. And in fact, Sancinelli just pitted. This is his out lap, along with Mike Nickum. Very interesting. Although Nickum is 4 laps down, but it is interesting that some of these guys towards the back end of the field are deciding to use this as their pit stop. Curious.
A lot of people coming in here. Do you think the pit window just opened maybe like a lap or 2 ago, and people are now feel enticed to pit now and try to focus up the final 36 minutes?
Well, if you take 75%, and this is a look at Flo Doms, who's just passed Pete Snake finally for 10th, and Pete might have a run at turn 12, but if you take 75%, 3/4 of 60 minutes, that would be 45 minutes. So theoretically, it's been open for some time, but this could just be the mark where they feel safe coming in and putting a little bit less fuel in, trying to get exactly a fuel number on how much they need to the end. And, again, theoretically, the pit window has been open for some time, but these guys, of course, have slightly different things they're looking for, and, they're racers. Who knows what they're trying to figure out now is their new advantage. We can never keep up with it from the broadcast booth. It seems like as soon as we figure something out, they're already on to the next thing.
Yeah, most of the time we'd spent trying to figure out what the advantages in racing. We're here broadcasting, so we don't even get as much time to try to figure out, try to keep up with the times.
That was Pete. Sorry, that was David Payne, actually. in the white Porsche out of turn 20, a bit loose. Going to open the door potentially to Sean Cole, and yes, there goes Sean Cole at the inside. What a beautiful angle into turn 1, and Sean is going to take that spot away. David Payne now going to have to try and regroup. Easy pass made for car 39.
Just kept the pressure on, took the advantage at the opportune time there with the mistake off of turn 20, set up for a great overtake into turn 1. And yeah, it looks like we lost somebody there.
That was Hinchy blinking. There's a pit stop out of David Saratori. He's back onto the racetrack. Actually, that was a pass-through, so incident penalty there for the Corvette. Shireman, though, onto the pit lane. Had a bit of a talk there as, somebody in the background. That was Van Marie coming to back into his pit box. Still having to back into his pit box, but had a good Discord chat with Shireman earlier in the week. Heiko Shireman, trying to get that pronunciation down. We're going to go with Shireman for now, and he'll let me know if that's a little bit off still. But Shireman, a long time in the pit box. You see Van Marie is left even after having to back into his box. This is a long, long stop for Heiko. This is not what he needed.
Maybe a mistake. Maybe just left full fuel in the pit options there, and that might cost him. The other thing is, Andrew, I'm worried about the timing of these incident point drive-throughs, and of course, you don't ever want to get a drive-through for incident points. It's not ideal because it just adds time to your race. But they're coming before the halfway mark, and 12 is, I mean, it's half a point shy of halfway on the incident points where you're disqualified. A lot of the drivers that keep up that pace on incident points, they're not going to see the finish.
I definitely think we're going to see some drivers disqualified from this race, and it's just like Spa, honestly, where it's kind of just an assumption that you're going to have troubles with incident limits. Now, Spa has been backed off of that for a while now. iRacing going in and updating the off-track kind of areas, if you will. I'm trying to think of it. The allowances, I guess, for off-tracks, the track limits, I think, just in general is a good way to put it. But they've gone in, kind of reworked a few things to make it a little more realistic and more of a case-by-case basis for certain corners, which I like. They're getting a little more, in line with real-life officiating, but I don't think that's happened as much here at COTA. They have, I think, reworked it for the NASCAR series to a point, but there's still kind of a ways to go, I think, to get it truly faithful, and there's still a lot of corners where it's really, really easy to pick up that off track, as you'll know, Emerson, as you race a lot more than I do these days, but it's still super, super easy to do. It's still super punishing, and especially in these cars, they feel like they're glued to the racetrack. They feel like they can go a whole lot faster than they actually can.
Absolutely, and then you feel that you go a little faster to the corner, but all of a sudden the exit of the corner comes up, and now you're going over that white line. Especially the first season that NASCAR was here for the official series, it was terrible. Those big, heavy stock cars, they're not meant to be confined within these track limits to the same extent that Formula One and sports cars are. They relax them a little bit, but no rules tab anywhere near what like Spa has.
David Sarator, we saw him on the pit lane. Brandon Carl looks like being passed up by Sam Hinchy despite Sam's connection issues, so that position gets worked out. And Amir Assad just ahead of these guys. Not many battles left on the racetrack, but Sean Cole actually working on Pete Snake. This is a battle we've come back to a lot today, Emerson, and it's the battle that keeps giving.
Absolutely. A lot of, I think, we're starting to figure out these guys as well. This is my first time getting a look in at most of these guys, and it's trying to figure out that some, like Sean Cole, Pete Snake, I think they're aggressive in their own rights. Sean a little more aggressive on the attacking end, and Pete pretty aggressive on the defensive end. And I think the more drivers they encounter, the battles that we're able to pick up, it entertains. And now putting these two together, this could be a fun one.
Whoa, Sean Cole way up the inside, big move. That is for 11th, but he gets it. Wow. He's going to open the door now for turn 2. Here comes Pete Snake back to the inside. He's not done.
Sean had a little problem getting onto the throttle off of one. Side by side, 3 S's.
And he's got the spot over Pete Snake. What a battle between these two. That was a couple of mistakes, I think, just turned out right there for the 39 of Sean Cole. I don't think he meant to go up the inside like that, but I also think Pete Snake left the door wide open for that opportunity. So it just works out sometimes in racing. And what a battle that was through turn 1 of the S's. Pete Snake, though, I think not going to be all that happy with it. Brandon Carl now down the pit lane. But, boy, things heating up for 11th, 12th, and 13th. That was a lot.
I don't even know. Pete assumed or thought the move was going to be made there into turn 1 that time. I thought there was a little bit of a gap, and now Pete's under attack from the next car, David Payne.
You see Payne kind of laying there in the wings, in the waiting. Maybe for an opportunity at 12. No, he backs off and will allow this battle to transpire ahead of him. And Pete may be able to get back up there and challenge Sean Cole. We'll see. And this is the best battle on the racetrack. This is far and away, I think, the best battle. The next best is going to be James Dowling and Flo Doms for 9th position. We'll check in on that quickly as they're just a little ways up the road, exiting the stadium section as the others enter. And this actually could get really good. We've seen just how quick Flo Doms has been on rails after starting 26th up into 10th, looking for 9th now on James Dowling, and he's closing in quickly on that Porsche.
Absolutely, and again, Flo Doms is, again, steadily working his way through the field, setting cars up. A little bit of a sketchy exit there off of 20, but is trying to set Dowling up now for to run into turn 1. He is there and has the opportunity to do so.
On board with Doms, he goes now to the right side of turn number 1, going to get a great exit here on Dowling, and it's going to be a good enough exit to go side by side with that number 34 Porsche, but not enough to hang around the outside of turn number 2. Oh, that was almost a chance for Flo. He's going to have to sit back now and wait for that opportunity to open back up.
Beautiful defense there from James. He went defensive up the corner and then was able to hold his speed on exit, not allowing Flo Doms to get the advantage there into the S's. And we got a car off there. Like that is Sarah Tower.
Well, actually, Sarah Tower just took this position away. Now he goes wide, and he's going to give that position up. Oh, man, the issues just keep on piling on for David Serratore. Flo Doms moves on by. Finally, James Dowling. That's going to be that will be replay worthy, certainly. That happened in turn 11. Worth mentioning, by the way, we've gone on by halfway, so we are now into the portion of this broadcast brought to you by Get Closer Racing. A big thank you to Get Closer Racing, and of course, Gomez Sim Industries that brought you the first half of this broadcast, splitting kind of the way this works. So GSI, Gomez Sim Industries bring you the first half up to the 30-minute mark, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports, giving us the back half. We'll go Pit Stop TV side by side in just a few moments, but this is the look at the pass for the 9th position into turn 11. Dom just got a great run out of turn 10, took it up the inside, classic pass in turn 11.
And he was keeping James very much pinned up to that right side of the track until the very last moment, until Doms had to turn in, and Dowling had no choice but to wait until Doms turned in. Oh, there's the car to his inside.
We've not talked recently about our race leader, but he's got just under a 1-second lead as he comes up on, that is that Porsche. I got to recall the name, Van Marique. And Van Marique goes way off track, actually, giving up that lap to our race leader. Is going to come to a stop now on the outside of turn 8, it looks like, but gives up the time, at least, the space on the racetrack to Terry Crouch, and allows the 59 to go on by. But worth checking back in with our race leaders here, Emerson, as they are well clear of everybody else. The top 3 has a 10-second gap back to Moses Quay, Terry Crouch, Randall White, Jan Christian, and they are doing so good today.
Absolutely, and I've been watching the gap between the leaders. And I'm imagining lap traffic had another part to play in this, but this is the second time I've seen the gap between the 2 leaders drop down to 0.6 of a second. Because before, say about 5 minutes ago, the gap was 1.5 seconds. And it then went down to 0.6, and it went back up to 1.3. It's now back down to 7, now 0.8. I'd imagine lap traffic is really playing the huge factor that Randall White is able to close the gap a little bit, but I would keep an eye on that. If traffic gets denser for Terry Crouch, this could become a real intriguing battle.
Taking a look at the logos on the right or left side of your screen, rather, the Simpit at thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, some of the presenting partners of this series, of course, the Simpit Road Racing Series. A big thank you to all of them, and a big thank you as well to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. That is now 17 laps complete out of an expected 30. We are just about into pit stop range. We are going to take a quick step aside and go Pit Stop TV side by side as more of this race ticks away. In fact, a great time to mention Joao Antonio down to the pit lane in car 31. So pit stops are very much on the way. We'll come back to those in just a moment. Welcome back live to the virtual Circuit of the Americas for the Simpit Road Racing Series, round number 1 of 10. Next week, we're off to Road America, then Watkins Glen, but that's just the first 3 races, and this is just the first race on track. 22 minutes to go, and you can see now the battle for our race lead. Oh, and it just tightened up, and then a mistake for Randall White on corner exit out of the stadium section. Emerson, things are ratcheting just one step tighter here in the closing stages. We've still got a pit stop to go for these guys as well.
Yeah, Terry Crouch, he had a little bit of an advantage throughout the first half of the race. Not any longer. He is comfortable holding this lead. It is Randall White piling on for pressure and forcing himself into a mistake there through turn 15, but trying to force Terry Crouch into a mistake, and very much so a very nose-to-tail battle going up the hill to turn 1.
Meanwhile, Jan Christensen has a beautiful view of all of these, of these two guys battling as we get deeper into this race. 21 minutes to go, and things are just heating up here in the virtual Austin, Texas. We talked about cold temps earlier today. It is still rather chilly, 64 degrees in the air, 67 degrees on track in Fahrenheit, and still very, very cool compared to what it could be here and what we have seen in the past here in Austin. Looking throughout the field, not a whole lot going on aside from our race lead battle, although Don Hunter is close to stand on it, and it looks like James Dowling is headed down the pit lane, so pit stops, they are starting to pick up.
And we see Dowling in quite a few battles today. Unfortunately, more or less on the end of him being overtaken. But we'll see where Dowling shakes out here following the pit cycle and see what kind of battles can proceed us there. Dowling down away with only 9.3 seconds in the stall.
9.32 for Dowling, and it's going to be a longer stop for David Payne, but not much longer. About a second and a half extra for that Porsche. Dan Clark now in the pits, taking service. Should be about a 9 or 10 second stop for him as well. 10.8, a little bit longer than Dowling, but a little bit shorter than David Payne. We'll see if Amir Assad is able to work his way into this group now, as he, of course, he pitted a long time ago, but, well, actually, no, he didn't pit a long time ago. He served a penalty a long time ago. He's still got a pit, but he finally works back into the top 15 for a moment. But he still needs to come in and get fuel service to that number 36 Porsche. Boy, what could have been a great day has turned so sour for him. Emerson started 6th, now 14th, as low as 21st, though, and I suspect he'll drop back down around to the 18th position or so once pit stops are complete.
And, of course, this is still pending that he's able to make it to the end of the race.
Yeah.
Because the pace he's at, it's not looking all too hot for him to make it on incident points. I'm sure with that being said, he's probably backed the pace off a little bit to try to make sure he can try to make it to the end. But it's a very frustrating day for Amir Assad.
A few cars are looking like they're out of this race now as we go a little further on, and of course working to the final third of this race as Moses Kwai headed down the pit lane in car 188. But as far as cars that have checked out of this race, we're talking about William Martinez, Brandon Carl, and Eric Hardiman, as Mike Nickham is trying to get some spots back, and he will actually pass Eric Hardiman this lap, and then Brandon Carl and William Martinez next lap. As here's a look at Moses Kwai in the pit lane. While Moses pits, actually, let's go back and get a look at some stuff that happened a little bit ago. This might take a replay or two, actually, to get back to it. But in that side-by-side break, we saw an issue for Eric Hardiman, so let's see if we can go back and get it. And it looks like we might have found at least one of the issues for him, but we'll see here in a moment. He's already got some nose damage to that 52 car. He may just well come in and pit after this. We might have to go back further in this lap, but this is the 52 of Eric Hardiman. We saw a couple of issues in that, not that halfway break, that side-by-side break, and there it is. Oh, a spin there, and he catches one car out, rolls across the racetrack. Oh, boy.
Very scary moment there. Very tight section, not a whole lot of room to go without, picking up off tracks for grass or track limits there, and very scary moment if you had a car spun around there.
So that was the issue for Hardman. He is now on the pit lane and waiting on some service to be completed. Potentially, he may head back out on the racetrack. We will have to wait and see. Amir Assad, though, taking service here, and oh boy, this is a lengthy one. He had a tow.
The frustrating and rough day for Amir Assad just gets worse and worse. A driver who, again, qualified well within the top 10, one spot shy of the top 5, struggled a lot today. It's not an easy circuit by any means, but this has been a tough one.
This is the look at things for Amir Assad. Loose out of turn 1. Oh, and he gets hit there by the 93 of Hinchy. And I think that is where he just calls it a day. Unfortunate stuff for Amir. Tries to get the car turned around. Might realize that there's a lot of damage. He went backwards quite a ways. That's risking a DQ, and I think realizes that and just tows back to the pit lane.
And you saw in his attempt to try to spin the car back around, that left front tire looked disconnected from the main part of the front axle there.
This is the look on board from Sam Hinchy. Assad just kind of straight lines right to the apex, and just the car whips around. Nothing Hinchy can really do at all. More pit stops taking place. Pete Snake is into the pit lane, taking service in his Get Pole Racing 666, and he is now headed back out onto the racetrack with a full tank of fuel.
Pete Snake, one of those drivers, very much in battles all throughout the day. We'll see if he's able to kind of hold station or have to fight it out the final 15 or so minutes left in this race.
Randall White has since dropped back another half second or so from Terry Crouch, so things opening up just a little bit in this top 3. But how about Jan Christensen, who has just sat quietly in this third spot the entire race? Started third, currently third, high of third, low of third. He has literally not left the third position since the drop of the green flag. And, well, even since qualifying, really, as our leaders are both coming in, and Yan is going to go one more lap and try and get a lap lead here today. He just might be able to as he rounds turn 20, and our leaders are in the pits.
So here we go. This is it. This is gonna pretty much decide the rest of the outlook on this lead battle. Is there any potential that either one of them tries to short pit the fuel number?
Oh, that was deep in the box, but Randall just within the bounds.
Oh my goodness. Now wait, who's the first to
Terry
drop?
rolls. And Randall.
Large advantage.
Wow. It's a difference of 1 second nearly.
But
Actually, 1 second and 1,000th. Wow. Or 100th, rather.
But did Terry underfuel it to try to make sure he can stay out in front, or is 9 seconds more than enough fuel at this point of the race?
We saw his pace be well beyond anyone else today. Could he have been saving fuel earlier? And that's why he was running a little closer to everybody else there for a bit. As there you see Don Hunter back onto the racetrack. Sven Labe into the pit lane. Sean Cole as well. So pit stops for everybody just about.
I think we're nearing the far end of that window, Andrew, and you're right. You're talking about 75% of an hour, about 45 minutes or so. We're on that now 46th minute complete right there, and towards the end of that fuel window.
3 cars up front have stayed out. Jan Christensen, Stan Donnet, and Wolfgang Rausch, as even Flo Doms has come in and made his stop a couple of laps ago, so he cycles in a 9th position. So really we're watching this guy in car 35, Stan Donnet in car 401, and Wolfgang back here in car 71. And this is who I suspect is, well, this again is where we suspect is the race for this amateur win. And what's interesting is Wolfgang must have had some big issues, because earlier, if you recall, he was racing heads up, higher up in the top 10. Well, I guess it wasn't quite as high as Don Hunter, but it's going to be between Stan Donnet, Don Hunter, and Wolfgang Rausch, I think, for this amateur victory. We just don't know who is actually racing in what class, because again, if I go back to what I have for the class breakdown, what I got straight from Amir was that Stan Donnet should be a pro, and he is currently listed as an amateur driver in this race. Now, we have him noted by his number as a pro, but by his name, he is marked as an amateur. Then, looking down to, Wolfgang, car 71, he should be a pro, but same deal, where we've got his number as a pro, but his name is listed as an amateur. So they could both just be pending that name change. And then you've got Don Hunter, who by our number for him should be an amateur, but is listed as a pro. So we don't really know who is leading this class. We just know it's one of those 3. Is that confusing enough?
Very much so. It's the good news is, we have the opportunity to work this out in the coming weeks. It is the opening round, so there could be, of course, stuff to work out, and
yes.
We'll get clarification on that, of course. But it still doesn't take away from how competitive it has been here in the upper mid-pack.
Wolfgang back onto the track, 15th position for him. You can see that Accelerate Esports logo there on the side of his car. Get Closer Racing as well, as he heads back out onto the virtual Circuit of the Americas. Moses Quai just a little ways behind Stan Donnet. This is a new battle that we did not see earlier. Both of these drivers have pitted. Stan Donnet freshly out of the pit lane, 1 second less in the pits than Moses Quai. So that's why we're seeing this battle. This could be a good one.
I was going to say, Stan has been around 6th most of the day now, and he's now up into that 4th position. I'm sure, he'd like to take home this good run, being a home state or home track race. And Moses trying to see if he can outdo that at least 4th place position that is sitting right in front of him.
Of course, Moses had that position earlier before the pit stops. This is a more recent change. Don Hunter and Stan Donnet were battling earlier, so things changing a little bit within this top 5, top 10 really. James Dowling still in the top 10. Sven Labe in 9th. Flo Doms now in 8th spot, chasing down Joao Antonio. That would be for 7th position. Can Flo Doms potentially make up 20 spots in this race with no cautions?
I mean,
he might.
Very much possible. He's got the pace to. It's just does everything work out in his favor?
He might do it. Here is that Ferrari chasing down well, it was. It should be Joao Antonio, and now I think it'll change. Yes, it does. Go back to Antonio that he's chasing. 3.9 seconds. And it is not the car directly in front. That is a slower Chevrolet, I believe. That is directly out front of Flo Dom. So the onboard here with 8th position. And this is a good look around the racetrack. We haven't taken many onboards today, but... and he pops one of the Verstappers there. But this is a good look around this racetrack, Emerson. Tell us about I guess, what a bit of, there we go, what these guys are doing in these cars, trying to maximize lap time, taking all of these curbs, trying to miss those anti-cuts.
Right, and so the reason there's anti-cuts is, right, it's more beneficial to run a more straight line through the center of the corner, but with those anti-cuts, you're not able to. You're trying to get as close as you can, maybe even clip a little bit of the edge of the anti-cut curve, try to help the car turn a little bit, but not run over it, or you'll throw the balance of the car completely off. And then, of course, you're setting yourself up for these long straightaways, so you want to get a wide entry into turn 11, and very much here in turn 12 as well, to kind of set up for the tight and technical section. So before all your speed is dwindled here in this upcoming section, carry as much as you can through 12 and set yourself up here. Just got to keep it very nice and steady. Very difficult section. Technical curbing on each side, and very slow corner here to try to really nail. Very hard. It's similar to I can think of from the F1 games all the time, 9 and 10 at Bahrain. Very tight double left-handed corner there.
This the onboard in-car now with Flo Doms, and a good look at what he's doing behind the wheel. Amir Assad, by the way, is dropped now to 29th position, and it looks like is done for the day. Has been on pit lane for now for 9.5 minutes, only ahead of Brandon Carl, who is 8 laps down. In fact, some of those drivers we were talking about earlier, William Martinez and Eric Hardiman, they are now running once again as Flo Doms completes that lap there. Eric Hardiman back on track in position 28, I think, realizing there's some positions to be gained potentially, and he is now 5 laps down. And Mike Nickham is in the 27th position. He has kept on going in his Chevrolet Corvette. While William Martinez, and Nickham, by the way, is 4 laps down. William Martinez is just 2 laps down, but is the only driver that is 2 laps down after starting technically 32nd, while 2 cars did not make the start of this race. Martinez now runs in the 26th spot. Nicholas Batista, by the way, back here in the 25th position, is 1 lap down along with David Sarator in a Chevrolet, Heiko Shireman in a Porsche, Alice Mom in a Chevrolet, and Walter Van Morik in a Porsche. And this actually could be a good little battle for 21st, the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, so we have this battle, and again, this has been shaping up most of the race here. These are some of the drivers that may or not have had the races they've wanted, but here's the chance to kind of put the bow tie on it, get that final position that you can.
You say that, and Alice is driving a Chevrolet. I just wanted to make that one known. Put a bow tie on it, Chevrolet.
Ah.
There you go.
That's very nice. I didn't even think about that, but that is, yeah. Who can outdo the can he hold on with the bow tie, put a bow tie on his race, hold on to that final battle in this closing moments here? We'll have to see what Alice Mom is able to do here. 6.5 minutes left.
That'll complete lap 26 for these drivers. Our leader is now on lap 27. I guess that'll actually complete lap 25 for them, won't it? For the drivers that are 1 lap down. But anyways, how about Terry Crouch? Way up at the front of this field. Through the S's on lap 27. He should have 3 to go this next time by. Potentially even 2. It depends on where timing sits. But I think it's going to be 3 laps once he gets back around.
Yeah, well, so they're running just over 2 minutes. So they'll come around here. Yeah, 2 laps, I guess. So by the time they come back around to start finish,
I don't think 2 laps will get us to the end once they get back around. It's going to be very close. I think it's going to take that 3rd lap for these drivers. So we are going to hit a total. It looks like, and oh my goodness, Terry must have been looking at the broadcast there for a second. That was sketchy into turn 12. He about missed that braking zone entirely. And you know what? a mistake or two like that in this race is back in Randall White's hands. This race is not at all over for the Porsche, so if you're a Randall White fan out there, it is not yet at all time to consider this one done. Randall is very much in position still to win this race. He has just put himself, I think, within range at this point. I think if you're Jan Christensen, you're a little too far back at 4.5 seconds, probably 2 or 3 seconds too far back, but Randall White is still in that range where he can very much win this race.
We're at the point now, though, that the lap traffic ahead of Terry Crouch is not immediate. There's a couple cars in turn 1 right now, but other than that, there's not going to be a whole lot of lap traffic to influence the race into Randall White's favor. So this is going to have to be on pure pace. He is closing this gap down to 1 second. Now, just have to think, if this gap continues to close, is Terry Crouch under-fueled trying to make it to the end on a certain number? And is, the extra lap going to play a factor into how this race ends?
We'll have to wait and see. We also know, of course, with Porsches, a very common thing is trying to put a little extra weight in the nose, a little bit of extra fuel in the nose to get it to turn in. And I know it's not the only rear-engined vehicle in this race. Of course, the Ferrari, the Corvette, the Ford GT if it were here, but it's still, I think, a more common thing with Porsches than it is Ferraris. Ferraris are a little more balanced. Even Chevrolets are, the Corvette, a little more balanced front to back. The Porsche has always been a car where you want a little bit of extra weight on the nose just so it helps turn in a little bit and you can attack the corner a little more. Maybe that's helping Randall White a little bit as he just made up a lot of time. Now down inside of 7/10. There it is, making up a little bit of time on this backstretch. This race is far from over. 3.5 minutes to go. We should still get 2 more.
And if you look at the last lap time, Andrew, for both drivers, Terry ran almost a second slower, like about 9/10 slower than Randall White. So if Randall White's able to keep that pace up, and this is some of the slowest times we've seen out of Terry Crouch, here's starting to shape up for a good one here in the middle of the Lone Star State.
Great view for these guys from the drones high above the track. Beautiful shot there through the triple right-hander, 17-18, as they worked out a turn number 19. This is getting a little bit nerve-wracking for Terry Crouch. It will be 2 laps to go, this time by the start-finish line, as he works at the turn number 20 with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go. He'll come on by the start-finish line, 2 laps to go here at COTA.
Terry Crouch picked up the pace of there, but is still 4/10 slower than Randall White behind. And this one is going to go down to the wire. Now, where is Randall White going to be able to make this overtake on Terry Crouch? And what is Terry Crouch going to do to stay defensive to hold this position on?
While he figures that out, some other battles in the top 10 that we want to recap quickly before focusing on this finish. How about Joao Antonio chasing down Don Hunter with Flo Doms 4 seconds in the rear view. Flo Doms looks like will be stagnated in that 8th position, won't be able to move any higher, but Antonio can very much catch Don Hunter for this 6th position. A couple of Porsches going at it here late in the going. We might have a good battle for 6th. We also may have a good battle here for 13th spot with Sam Hinchey on David Payne. So far, Sam Hinchey's connection holding tough for him, and really that's about it. Those are the only battles that we see at this point in the race as Randall White continues to put pressure here on Terry Crouch down this backstretch, making up a little bit more time, nearly down to a half second before turn 12. And right there, inside of a half second, wow.
Now, Randall White is gaining, yes, but not anywhere near the pace he was gaining over the past couple laps. So the advantage that Randall White has started to diminish because he's starting to get into that dirty air of Terry Crouch, not able to do as much as he wants with the car. It's getting much harder in dirty air to do what he wants. Actually, Terry Crouch is now maybe picking the pace back up there.
Crouch just hanging on. 1 minute to go. We should get the white flag this time by here at Circuit of the Americas without a doubt. Terry Crouch 1 lap away from picking up an astounding, a dominating, and a statement-making race win here at COTA. White flag is waving per Barney the flagman. There it is. Actually, yeah, that is the white. It looked an awful lot for a second like the checkers, which would have made no sense. Still 30 seconds to go in this race. We're going to go, I think, to about 62 minutes of racing nearly. Andrew White, by the way, in the pit lane on the jacks. That is a big problem on the last lap of racing. He is going to drop big time. He may even drop out of the top 20. Alice Mom would be the next car to join that battle. But Randall White, about 3/4 of a lap to go here. Emerson just trying to put some time together. We might have a battle.
Very, very similar lap times last time around, but the advantage was to Terry Crouch last time by the stripe, and there is the official white flag presented by Whiplash Media Simcams. And this is Randall White pretty much trying to set up for one of the last chances he has in this final lap. Terry Crouch misses the apex a little bit. Here we go.
That's what he needs. Randall White well within the draft now. You can see Terry knows it. He's moving around the racetrack trying to diminish that draft. Randall, though, needs a lot more leg down this straightaway. Into turn 12 will go. Does he move up the inside? I don't think he's there, but he looks to the inside. He's nosing to the inside. Oh, he nearly got to the inside there of Terry Crouch. On the back end of that Ferrari now into the stadium section. That might have been it for Randall. He might not be able to get back to that number 59. That may have been the one opportunity he had.
How did Terry Crouch not keep his composure and not go wide there at turn 12? Unbelievable. There's still no Satilda, still close. Maybe something can happen in the final set of corners. Through the triple right-hander, they come and heading down to turn 19.
Randall White with 2 more opportunities, 19 and 20. It's not going to happen at 19. He rolls a bunch there through 19, though. He's going to make up a lot of time for turn 20, but it's just not going to be enough. And going to victory lane today at COTA is Terry Crouch in car 59. Beautiful, dominant victory here from that Ferrari.
What a race. What a drive from Terry Crouch and Randall White. Amazing battle.
There you see the checkers from Barney the Flagman. Next to the start-finish line will be Stan Donnett in car 401. Again, should be scored as a pro, so we're not going to call him as the amateur winner. The driver that should be, we believe, competing for the amateur win and collecting the amateur win is going to be Don Hunter, car 03 across the line.
And a well-done race there for Don, if he truly is slated as the amateur race winner. Brilliant job. And nonetheless, 6th place in this field was very hard to come by. This was a tough race. Just to bring it home looks like it's going to be a task of its own. But a great race, a great show put on by these boys here with the Simpit.
Once again, a big shout out to our partners here with the series. Gomez Sim Industries. Get Closer Racing, makers of top-end simulation gear. Feel the real deal. And of course, our partners here, Pit Stop TV, SimWrap Market, Whiplash Simcams, and Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine. Watching the rest of this field come on through to complete this race. Just 2 more to go on the lead lap. Edgar Sancinelli and Schultheis back there in car 008. I have to look for his first name again. Still learning these names. Christopher Schultheis will come across and finish this race up with the final car on the lead lap. A couple of BMWs back here just hanging on. Good to see at least we have a few drivers in that BMW. Of course, the wide boy. The BMW M8 GTE. And it will be the final car to cross the start-finish line here at Circuit of the Americas, as Schultheis will take the 18th position, hanging on to a pretty solid showing here in race 1 of the series. And some adjustments. Don Hunter sent down to 14th by incidents. That now means, I believe, that David Payne is going to take the amateur race win, because Stan Donnett should very much be a pro. That is big. That is
saw
big.
That coming. I wonder what might have happened in the last couple laps that might have forced. I wonder if there was a battle that kind of forced Hunter to be pressured to go off track.
It's well, it's hard to say, that's for sure. But let's go ahead and go back and take a look here in just one moment at our unofficial race results after 60 minutes of racing. What a show it was here at Circuit of the Americas. It never puts on a bad race. That's what I've learned here in recent years. Terry Crouch wins here at Circuit of the Americas, leading all but 4 laps of competition. Randall White takes second over Jan Christensen and Stan Donnett. Even Moses Quiet there in the top 5. Joao Antonio in 6th after Don Hunter is sent packing to, let's see, the 14th position. That is huge, which means Flo Doms finishes 8th, Flo Doms 7th, Sven Lave 8th, James Dowling 9th, and Sean Cole, how about that? The owner of Simpit picks up a top 10.
11th place, we have Pete Snake. 12th, it'll be David Payne. Sam Hinchy comes across the line at 13th. The adjustment throws Don Hunter down to 14th. That was a heartbreaker. Wolfgang Roush comes home in 15th. Dan Clark, 16th. Edgar Centinelli there in 17th. And Chris Schulteis will be the last car to round out the lead lap. It's Estep and Showerman to bring it home in the top 20. First two cars, one lap down.
Finishing 21st, it's Alice Mom in car 194. These guys all one lap down, along with Wouter Van Mariek, David Sarator, Andrew White, and Nicholas Batista. Then William Martinez 3 laps down in 26th. Mike Nickum 27th, 5 laps down, along with Eric Hardeman 5 laps down. Amir Assad finishes 29th, 9 laps down, does not finish this race, along with Brandon Carl in the 30th spot. Just 2 more cars that did not take the start of this race, Michael Thompson and Dustin Urbelo, a pro and an amateur alike. Out front of all of this was, of course, Terry Crouch in the first position, leading just about every single lap here, 26 of the 30, and we do have our race winner on tap. Terry, what a race. From lap 1, it looked like you definitely had the pace, and you did have the pace. You made that pass early, you never looked back.
Well, it's good to talk to you guys, and shout out to Randall. I don't think I had the pace. That Porsche was nasty in the whole back sector. He was just so much faster than me through so many bends. So after I got out of the pit stop, I just tried to hold on and see how much I could try and be consistent. And then I had a hardware problem. My displays wanted to auto shut off in the last part of that lap, so I had to scramble around for the remote and keep them on, and I locked up and lost about half a second, so that kind of screwed up my plan, but I'm just happy to hold on to it.
And of course, we call all of this racing just like it's real stuff, like you would see on TV, and it is real racing, but it is on a computer. So tell us about some of the challenges as a driver trying to make sure everything works right, and obviously it's hard to check every single thing before a race, but what other challenges are there? Sometimes things shutting off and whatnot.
Well, most of the time it's pretty good. I did something different last night. I left my screens on, and that kind of led to this. But most of the time it's, the normal stuff. Your wheel, a display might freak out if you have a USB conflict of some kind. I've had loss of, force feedback. And today, right before in the practice session, I also popped my seat rail, so I had to reassemble that. It was a bad hardware day for me, so I'm just lucky to come out away here.
Well, you pick up the victory in round number 1, which is always a big statement to make. You, of course, led practice. You came up a little bit short in qualifying, but you still get the race win. What does this mean for the rest of your season? Of course, we go to Road America next week, then Watkins Glen. 3 very American tracks to start this season off.
Well, this was an interesting one because, my fast teammates, especially Elliott, he couldn't make it. He had another real-world problem to prevent him. So, I just kind of hope that I can put races together and get in top 5s, week after week. I might not have the pace. The Ferrari kind of becomes a dump truck later in some of these tracks, but you just hope you can hang on and be consistent, and that's all I really care about. That's what I focus on every race, is just consistency.
Well, there you go. Terry Crouch with a big win here in round number 1. Terry, congratulations. A big statement is made for Car 59, and I cannot wait to see how you do in the 9 remaining rounds. Maybe you can go for a perfect 10. We'll see.
That would be interesting, but thanks, guys.
Terry Crouch with a win here at Circuit of the Americas. Emerson, that means we are now looking for Randall White, and yes, second place is here this evening. Started on pole, led a few laps, but he just couldn't quite get the win.
And Randall White, he was on it. He was piling under pressure on Terry Crouch, but a little short there at the end. Randall, what could you have done differently?
I think I needed a little more straight line speed. I had a little too much wing, I think. When I was behind him, I wasn't really catching up that much, but I was kind of hanging with him, so I was pretty happy with that.
A good run nonetheless. A great show to see with the, I believe he had the pole, and of course he led the opening laps. Is there any, added, or is there any motivation or momentum you can take from this race heading into next week in Elkhart Lake?
For sure. I mean, I was surprised I got the pole. I was very happy with that. I was really happy I could stick with Terry, the entire race. He's usually 10, 15 seconds ahead of me. So I put in a lot of practice this week, so it kind of paid off.
And it seems like the Porsche is the car, like looking at the series and the entries and all. But what is it for you that you like the Porsche? You've elected to run the Porsche at least today, and is this something you look forward to the rest of the season?
I feel like it turns in much better than the other cars. The other GT cars always feel very understeery to me, so I always go with the Porsche when we drive GTEs. I've tried the Corvette in the past, and that wasn't too bad, but for me, the Porsche is always the best one.
There you go. And real quick, how do you feel you can do at Road America?
Hopefully just as good, maybe one spot better. We'll see how it goes.
Well, there you go. Second place finisher Randall White today. And again, a hard-fought drive for that race win, just comes up one spot short. We're looking to improve upon that heading into next week.
And we don't have any amateur drivers that have turned up for interview this evening. I think they're waiting, actually, on potentially clarification on who wins an amateur. Again, based on results, and what we have... Well, of course, based on results, but what we have for the league signups is that Stan Donnet would not be the amateur winner, despite being displayed in the results here as amateur. Who should be the race winner is David Payne in car 73, with Don Hunter still finishing second in class. That is per what we've been given for specifically the number blocks on the ticker, and I can actually bring this back up, and this kind of, I guess, sheds a little bit of light, because what we do is we take what the league sends us as far as where the driver should be, what class, and their number, basically, and that graphic is tied to that driver per what we are given. So the number block and the name are actually done separately. The number block is from us, the name is from the league, so that might explain kind of some of that discrepancy. And again, so what we've been given is that Stan Donnet should be 4th overall and in pro, and should be displayed as a pro driver, meaning David Payne should have the amateur win. But again, none of these drivers are here yet so far for a post-race interview, so we might not be talking to any of them. But Emerson, that's just one of those things sometimes in sim racing. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces, a lot of things that sometimes there's a few discrepancies about.
Yeah, and there's a lot to juggle, right? And especially with changes there, looking like coming in towards the end, right before the season starts here, it can cause some things like this. And it's the first race of the season, and for our first points race covering them, these things happen. I'm sure these things can be cleared up before next week.
And actually, looking into the league Discord chat, it sounds like Don Hunter thought that 12X was just a verbal warning, not a drive-through. So, wow, he just picked up a few extra incidents there at the back end of the race, and it was enough to DQ him. That is big time. That is huge for Don Hunter, losing that spot. Well, losing several spots, dropping down, of course, like I said, to the 14th position. That is big time kind of issues for him. Let's take a look again here, Emerson, at the remaining races in this 10-race schedule. Road America next up, Watkins Glen, Silverstone, Daytona, the remainder of the top half of the schedule. Then we go off to Monza, Austria, Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji. It's a diverse one for sure.
Absolutely. You're almost kind of faked out with how American it is at the front end of the schedule. And then you get a very much, very European. And of course, you had a hit of Fuji there at the end of the season as well. So a lot of variety in this schedule. And again, some of the bigger name tracks in the world on the schedule. And I can't wait to see these GTE cars tackle some of these fantastic tracks.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm specifically looking at Le Mans. For my personal kind of excitement, very much Le Mans is the track that I'm most excited for. But also look, of course, at classics like Road America and Watkins Glen coming up next up, these next two races, and even Silverstone. And how about Daytona? I mean, just classics throughout, even Monza, Red Bull Ring. There's no shortage of good racetracks within this schedule. 10 really strong rounds, and popular road courses, I think, brand new road courses in the case of Fuji, and you could consider Watkins Glen, I suppose, as being remastered recently, so kind of brand new in that way. And Sebring, it looks like, is getting remastered soon, but not quite for this season on the iRacing.com service. So very, very popular, very, very historic, and I think classic road racing venues to visit for this season. And of course, mirroring that of the European Sprint Series is where this schedule comes from. Upcoming broadcasts here on the channel, they look like this, though, Emerson. Coming up next, it's the virtual racing school Rookie Legends Cup from Concord Speedway. That is Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern. Then Wednesday evening, look at that, the Outlaws Sim Series finally gets back racing at the Charlotte Roval. Tell us all about it.
Well, it is the second road course excuse me, in the opening round of the Outlaw Sim Series playoffs, and 4 drivers of the 16 have locked themselves into the round of 12. There's still 8 spots remaining. Definitely a lot of drivers to do it in on points, but is there anybody who can maybe win their way in? We'll have to see. This race was originally supposed to be last Wednesday. It was pushed back because of the tropical storms all across North America, affecting a lot of drivers. So, of course, our thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by those tropical storms. But we're ready to put on a great show Wednesday night with the Charlotte Roval.
And of course, after the Roval on Wednesday, we then head to Road America Sunday afternoon and next week at 1:30 Eastern for the next round of the Simpit Road Racing Series. It'll be round 2 of 10 on this schedule. A big thank you to everyone for watching. Go ahead and make sure to follow on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole lot of them. We would certainly appreciate it, and we certainly recommend you do so in general, just to follow along with your favorite iRacing league that is covered on this channel. Emerson, final words here from Circuit of the Americas.
Well, biasly, it's always a great time here at Circuit of the Americas, but really, it always puts on a great show, as you said as well. It was a fun race. Wasn't exactly sure what to expect. A little bit of variety. We usually have sports cars has started to become a little bit more, what we're known for with pit stop, but GTE specifically, haven't seen too much of it. So I was very excited to see some key differences, and we saw a lot with no ABS at the corners. Fun race, and it makes me a little proud as a Texan to see a fellow Texan get it done at Circuit of the Americas. But a lot of fun next week as well. Road America is one of my favorite circuits in the nation, and can't wait to see what we can do there.
And of course, a big thank you to those who make it possible, our partners here with this series, the Simpit, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports, as well as our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Simcams, SimRepMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. That will do it for us here this evening. And make sure to tune in Tuesday evening for VRS Rookie Legends from Concord Speedway. But until then, thanks so much for watching. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Emerson Arden alongside. We really do hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, or today's broadcast, however you want to put it. We hope you tune in for more. We hope you hit that like, subscribe, follow, whatever it may be, and we will see you next time here on Pit Stop TV.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.